Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone to the February meeting of the Irondequoit Zoning Board of Appeals. Before we get underway, there's a few administrative matters I need to take care of. First, I point out to your attention that the fire exit is located to your left. In the event of a fire, you will be notified by an announcement. If so notified, please move in a calm and orderly fashion to the exit. Do not use the elevator. Use either the north or the south stairs to leave the building. Meetings are being recorded by our secretary, Donna, who's here tonight, for the purpose of a record of our proceedings and minutes, not as a verbatim transcript. Would be helpful if every time you come to the podium, you identify yourself by your name and your address and speak clearly into the microphone so that everyone can hear what you're saying. We follow the items in the order that they appear on the agenda. Extra copies of the agenda are on the table next to the door. Once the case has been called, the applicant comes to the podium or their representative. They identify themselves or herself, state their address, then they pause, raise their right hand, I'll swear them in, and then they can present their case. During the presentation of the case, the board has the opportunity to engage in discussion or ask questions of the applicant or their representative. When that process has been completed, we'll then open it up to public input. We've so far identified three categories of public input. First is those who wish to speak in favor of the application, and we'd ask everyone who wishes to do that to line up on the west wall and come up to the podium one at a time. During the public input, nobody is sworn. It's only the applicant who's sworn because they're the only ones who are making representations to the board that the board is relying on in making a determination. After we've heard from all the people who wish to speak in favor of the application, we'll then open the public hearing to those who wish to speak in opposition to the application, and the same process will be followed. Once that category of participants has been completed, we'll then go to the third category, which is those who'd like to talk to us about the application, but they're not in favor of it, they're not against it, they just want to talk to us about some aspect of it, whatever it may be. During the public input portion, the comments are addressed to the board, not the applicant, and not to members of the audience. And once that process has been completed, the applicant or their representative will then be given an opportunity to return to the podium to address anything that came up during the public hearing. Once that has been completed, the case will be closed and we'll move on to the next case. After all of the hearings on the agenda have been concluded, the board will take a brief recess, 10 minutes or so. We'll announce the length at the time, and then the board will resume. After the break, we will deliberate on the cases in the order that they appear on the agenda and for which the applicant or their representative remains present. So if the first case has an applicant that is no longer present who's left, we will go to the second case. If that applicant is present, that case will be deliberated first, and we'll take all the cases that have applicants present, and then we'll go back to the top of the agenda and take the cases for which the applicant is no longer present. During the deliberation portion of the meeting, there is no other public input of any kind unless the board asks for it, which doesn't generally happen, but if it can. If you don't wish to stay for that portion, you're free to, you can catch it on TV, or you can call the Planning and Zoning Department tomorrow morning after 9, and they'll be glad to tell you what our decision was on each of the applications before us tonight. I will note that the adjourned item that was pending, which was the request by the Ukrainian Federal Credit Union for an area variance, that application has been withdrawn, and I understand that the credit union is going to be erecting a enclosure around the dumpster as required by the code. So if anyone was here with reference to that, that will not be on our, we will not be doing anything further with that. If we could now call our first case.
Sure. ZB 1802-1, upon the matter of request by Doug Stewart, acting as agent for St. Caterie's School for an area variances to install a new freestanding sign exceeding maximum number of signs permitted on premises and with less than required front setback on premises 445 Kings Highway South in an R1 residential district.
Good evening, neighbors. I'm Doug Stewart, representing St. Catherine Parish, specifically 445 Kings Highway, Christ the King School. The proposal request is for a sign approximately 4 foot tall by 6 foot wide,
Before you go further, could you tell us your address?
My address, 1618 Winton Road North.
All right, and if you'd raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
The proposal is to put a two-sided sign, 4 foot by 6 foot, in the front lawn of the school, centered on the existing garden that's in front of the property. The driveway entrances and exits are exceed 300 feet to either side of where the sign is apt to go. There, I guess I.
Right now, there's nothing other than lettering on the side of the building that identifies the school, correct?
That's correct.
Right.
This is principally to assist people as they drive by or the vicinity to recognize that there's a school there.
And also a little advertising for people that might want to send a child there.
Perhaps, but I was surprised that people, despite it being there since Moby Dick was a minnow, that people didn't know that that school existed.
This is in addition to the other sign, right?
This is in addition to the sign that's currently there calling attention to the church. That's about 65 feet from where this sign is proposed to go.
So, okay.
Yes, sir. And that's one of the reasons the variance was called for, because there's more than, this would be the third sign on the 13 or so acre property.
Where is the other sign? Because you have it marked on your map.
Yeah, I believe it's a sign designating the office from the rectory and the convent around back or west of the area. So there's a access road that runs east and west, and I believe the second sign is on the northwest portion of the property. So would not be visible from.
So it's not out on Kings Highway.
Correct.
Okay.
The town considered the church sign as two signs because it's opened, and they got a variance for that a few years ago. Because it's not,
It's a V sign.
right,
Sign.
and that was considered two signs. Now this will make the third.
That's
So
correct.
that's where,
Thank you.
because the other one's more directional sign, and we don't really count that.
Very good.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
That's good information, because I didn't know the history of that.
And then this new sign, it's not drawn well on your map, but it's going to go perpendicular with the road as opposed to parallel with the road. Right?
Perpendicular with Kings Highway, that's correct.
So it'll be double-sided, visible from both directions coming down the road.
North and south, correct.
Okay. Because I noticed there's a sign similar to that at the St. Catherine's Church on Thomas, but it's just a front-facing sign.
Correct.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone who'd like to talk to us about signs or anything related to that? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing with respect to this matter. Thank you, Mr. Stewart.
Next case is ZB 1802-2. Upon the matter of request by Randy and Debbie Gates for an area variance to maintain an existing front yard fence exceeding maximum permitted linear footage on premises 279 Cascade Place in an R3 residential district.
Hi.
Hi.
We're Randy and Debbie Gates from 279 Cascade Place.
If you'd raise your right hands, do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
Okay. So you want to keep the fence up that's there now?
yes.
And how long has the fence been there?
It's been there probably a few months now, maybe 3 months. We didn't know that it was supposed to have a permit because it wasn't cemented in. And it was a picket fence, so we figured it's small and cute. But it turns out that it's too many linear feet compared to what is permitted. It-
The house sits way back, so there's no backyard.
Yeah, so it's our lawn, so
That's the area that you use for,
just sit under the tree and play with our dog. Yeah, we sit out front.
so the fence helps contain the dog?
Right.
Yeah,
He's a pretty good sized guy, and
he's very sweet and friendly, but still, just because this way I can throw his ball back and forth and sit with him right there.
Fence keeps him in because he doesn't know he can jump over it?
right,
Right.
pretty much.
He actually has no interest. He's very sweet, but
Okay.
it also, I think it's more comfortable for other people walking by too. So, and it's really cute.
Have any of your neighbors complained to you about the fence?
No, not at all. In fact, one lady left this in our door. They said, "We like your fence." And everybody else that we asked said they have absolutely no problem with it.
And submitted with your application was, statement signed by Dina Friedman from 273
Yes,
Cascade Place,
yep.
and somebody whose signature I can't read.
Cortez.
Oh,
No, that one I can read. There's something in between.
Yeah.
And they
I-
both have phone numbers instead of addresses, but those are neighbors.
Yes, yes. Karen probably, one of them. Yeah, the ones that were home that night. It was in the evening and we had like one day to get everything in. So not everybody was home, but we knocked on some doors.
Since you had the sign out, has anyone said anything to you, like, what are you applying for or anything?
Actually, the one neighbor on the right-hand side, Dina, she said, "Is that for the picket fence?" We said, "Yeah." She goes, "Do you need us to come or anything?" I said, "I don't think so." I said, "It's not like that." So that was the only thing that was said. And the neighbor across the street put the card on her door saying, "I like your fence. Bring this with you." So, and that's about it.
You have a unique property where your house sits back
Way back,
further
yeah.
than everybody else's.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, one of those little houses that sit way, way back.
There's a few of them on our street that are like that.
Yeah.
And the backyard is,
Almost not, well, there's no real
There's just-
backyard,
There's
yeah.
a little side yard, and then there's
Little side thing.
like a 3 or 4 foot piece that goes around the side of the house and around the back of it. Other than that, that's it in the back. The rest of it's all out in the front.
it actually, the fence itself is set back quite a ways from the road. You don't-
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a house that sits over here to the left side of it, and it doesn't come past there.
Right.
We put it like, it's not up against the house, it's a little ways away from the house, but they said we can't do that because it's going across onto their property, so we gotta run it down this way if it's okay.
Yeah.
And then back over to the stockade fence.
You gotta take it away from the other house, cause
Yes,
I
we
saw
do.
it was
We
right
do
up
have to
there.
bring it in 5
Right.
feet. We said we would automatically do that.
Then you're gonna go all the way back up again.
Yes.
We're
Yeah.
gonna come back towards our house.
Yeah.
And then like,
So,
there's a part with the stockade fence there, and my lilac bushes, I'm gonna run it like back across in front of the lilac bushes back over to the stockade fence.
So that entices the 112 with the
yes.
addition?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, alternative solutions would entail taking this fence down. Now, Donna, I don't know if we still permit picket fence?
The type of fence is permitted, so the picket fence is the correct fence type in the front yard.
okay.
It's a matter of the linear footage that's in
Well, I
question.
understand that, but I thought we had some problem with picket fence. Maybe it was the height of it or something.
The height of it's 3.5 foot.
So this is
Yeah,
fine.
the height is
Is
okay.
what is standard height for the out in the
Yeah.
front.
But the point is, with what you're describing as a need for the fence,
Yeah.
you really have to have something there.
Yes, we should have
Just
something
have
there.
the dog running free. all
Yeah,
over the
no, right,
Right.
we wouldn't do that, yeah.
There's an old lady that goes up and down the road in a electric wheelchair, and if he's out there, he can't get to her, you know. And he is kind of aggressive when he jumps up and starts barking. People are scared of him, but he's really a big baby, you know.
Yeah.
He
Well, he would
sounds-
look aggressive, he's
he
huge,
sounds,
but he's
and looks
very
like
sweet.
he's kind of, you know, but he's not.
Sounds like you have a very nice, tight neighborhood.
We do,
pretty
we have a
much.
great neighborhood.
Can't put a price on that either.
No, we love our neighborhood. We love our little house. We love our lawn. It has a big tree on it. I don't know if anybody's seen it yet, but, we put a little chair under there and we keep it really nice and it's real pretty. So it actually, we think it looks really pretty out there, so. It won't be ugly or nuisance.
You've been there for quite a while, right?
We've
Yeah.
been there since,
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Big favor for you. If you're gonna speak, can you just speak into the microphone so that the folks at home and that's being recorded?
Okay.
It's hard to hear and we need to record this for the purposes
Okay.
of a record.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
How long have you been there, sir?
We've been there since 2000.
Yeah, speak into here.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, we'll open it to public input. Is there anyone who'd like to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone here who'd like to talk about fences, dogs, electric wheelchairs, or anything else that came up? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing with respect to this matter. Move on to the next case.
Thank you.
Thank you.
ZB 1802-3, upon the matter request by Elizabeth and Mark Weldon for a special use permit to continue harboring 4 hens with coop pursuant to section 23570 of Town Code on premises 74 Vinyl Avenue in an R2 residential district.
Hi,
Hi.
my name's Elizabeth Weldon. I live at 74 Vinyl Avenue.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you. So how long have the chickens been there?
April.
Since April?
Yes, I got them as babies and then in the spring. Didn't realize I needed a permit for them. I just grew up with chickens, so I didn't think about it. They're fully encased in their run at all times. They're not free range. They're fed. I keep it clean. I also have a petition for my neighbors that I didn't have before, from 2 on both sides and 2 across the street. Nobody has a problem with them, I'm aware of.
Can I ask a question? Is the reason that you put the coop to one side of the lot or the other, or directly in the back, any particular reason why you picked that location?
I converted my daughter's swing set when she outgrew it, and it's very heavy. I converted my daughter's swing set when she got outgrown it, and it was very heavy to move. It was wood. So I
So
just,
that was, it was
it was
an
just where the,
A-frame?
yeah, it's an A-frame. I just put the chicken wire down the side, dug it into the ground, built the coop around where the slide used to be, and put on rain guards.
Now, the neighbor to that side is the one most directly affected, right?
That is a vacant house right now.
It is a vacant house?
The person that does own it doesn't seem to mind. He commented on 'em, doesn't bother me. And they're
Is
planning
it
on
a-
renting, I believe.
Is it a rental or something?
Right now, it's partially condemned, probably. Maybe.
Did the person from the health department come down, give you any information yet?
I called, I didn't hear back. However, I've been watching in the snow. I haven't seen any sign of any footprints or anything in the area. I also remain, all their food is always suspended. It's never on the ground. I clean their coop once a week. In the snow, it's a little more difficult, but in the spring, I'll be doing a lot more cleaning on it, just because the snow overcovers everything.
And just for the record, the applicant has provided a petition in support of her request signed by neighbors at 60 Vinyl Avenue, 53 Vinyl Avenue, 54 Vinyl Avenue, 92 Vinyl Avenue, and 83 Vinyl Avenue, 4 of which in the comments section indicate no problem and one says just fine by us.
They like my eggs.
You share your eggs
I
with
do,
the neighbors?
yes.
That's always helpful.
Just out of curiosity, there is a complaint. Is that just from us, or was that a neighbor or somebody that called in?
It was from us.
Just from
yeah.
us, so it's just a lack of a permit.
I think they were there on that other property that she was mentioning, and he noticed the chicken, so he thought I should write it up. But he was there for the vacant parcel, yeah.
Okay.
Looking at the complaint, it says that there's a report of vermin next door at 84.
I have never seen any personally. We do have an apartment complex behind us with dumpsters. So it's not unheard of to see them now and then, but I've never seen any on my property.
And you said you dug the chicken wire down into the ground, what did you say, 2 feet?
It's 2 feet out from the coop on the outside, so it goes out, and it's about 6 inches down.
Oh, so it's
So it goes down and out, and then
down
dirt's
and
on top.
out,
Yep.
6 inches,
So they
okay.
can't dig. Or if they did, they'd have to dig 2 feet.
The chickens,
No, not the chickens, anything getting in to kill them.
anything getting into it, trying
Yeah.
to get in, okay. When we've approved chickens in the past, we've attached certain conditions. One being that annually you obtain a certificate from a veterinarian indicating that there are no health issues with them. We've also requested that the coop be at least 8 feet from the property line. I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
That it be limited to 4 hens, no roosters, and when those are the 4 that are there for the duration of the permit. No trades or
Oh, no.
substitutions. We've also asked the town to inspect and report back to us within a year. We've limited it to a 5-year period, and we've asked for a 24-inch depth ground barrier. However, yours sounds like it's 24, but it's out, which I think
What do you mean,
probably
going down?
24
Dig
inches
down?
going down, yes.
Mine goes out.
Right. One of the first applicants,
I can change that.
one of
in
the first
spring.
applicants that we had several years ago who helped educate us to the fact that we control chickens in the town. We never knew that. He was digging it, he put it in 2 feet all around the coop down to prevent animals from burrowing in to the coop. But your
Mine goes
Your
out.
thing should, I would think, accomplish the same purpose, since they'd have to dig through about 2 feet out and then burrow in 2 feet, so. Any of those conditions pose any problems for you?
Not at all. I've already spoken to East Ridge Animal Hospital, so if approved, I would get
I
them
think
there
they're the
immediately.
that seems to come up pretty often. They seem to be the Arundecoit chicken.
I spoke to
doctors.
Lollipop first, who referred me over to them,
Yeah,
so.
okay, all right. Any other questions from the board? All right. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to the application? Anybody who'd like to talk to us about chickens or eggs, and which came first? All right, seeing none, we'll close the hearing with respect to that matter. Thank you very much.
ZB 1802-4, upon the matter of request by Design One Architect and Planning, PLLC, acting as agent for LaCroix Properties, LLC, for an area variance to construct an additional 12-unit apartment building with less than required lot area on premises 75 Cary Lane, also known as 14 LaCroix Court Drive, in an R5 residential district.
Good evening, my name is David Matthews, owner of Design One Architecture and Planning. I live at 210 Mount Vernon in Rochester.
You'd raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that everything you say tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
All right. Just want to kind of go through a little bit of history with my involvement. In the last summer, I was hired by the current owner to evaluate the entire site for possible additions for more apartment units. So I did go through kind of a site analysis of existing open areas and looking at not only the one that is proposed, but I also looked at the green space on the kind of center north side of the lot where on the site plan there was a little bit of available area. So we went through some analysis of those two spaces, and my inclination was that the open area was not a good fit for what he wanted to do. Not only because it would be taking away green space and also some specimen large trees that are out there currently, but there's probably at least a story or a story and a half of slope, and it would incur more costs, and I felt that that was probably detrimental to his overall gains for the whole project. So with his blessing, we abandoned looking at that specific area and went to focus on the area of the former pool. So in that small area, there is two-story buildings right now. On the north side contains the office, the leasing office, and a little garage and shop. Above that is a apartment. On the south side of that building, there is an additional storage shop area and a former apartment which was considered for remodel but is not currently being leased. On the east side of those two buildings, what remains of the former pool area is a concrete pad. The pool was filled in at some time, and there is a little entry structure. I think I provided pictures to everyone that you can see that has a little bit of signage to it, but also a gateway and a little covered roof area. So the area of the pool, the area of that little entry structure, and the building on the south side is where the proposal went to try to maximize the amount of units that we could get out of that available area, leaving the office and the existing apartment on the second floor of that office as is. So the variances that, I guess we're asking for two now, but the initial variance was for adding 12 apartments. The lot area, I'll just go back and look at the application. The existing lot area of 361 square feet allows for 112 apartment units. Currently on the site, there is 111 apartment units. So we would only, if we were not asking for the variance, we could only fit one more. So we were asking for 12 additional, which takes us up to 123 units. The new building would match the existing buildings in appearance and also in number of levels. The existing buildings have a sublevel where you enter into the vestibule and you go down 5 steps to, let's call that level 1, or you go up 9 steps to level 2, and you go up a third flight to level 3. So there's actually 3 floors to those existing units. We would be matching that configuration for this new building.
And Board members, if I might clarify, on the application processing, at the time of application, we did not, we didn't include or address the balcony design. It was after that detail was received, we determined that the balconies proposed on the second floor or third floor, perhaps both, would extend into what would be they would encroach into the front setback. And so for your consideration, you'd also be thinking about that front setback, variance relief from that, and the amount that the balconies extend into the front setback would be 5 feet, as measured by the plans that were provided.
And that was my error. As we went into further development of the apartment units, I didn't take that into consideration for the original application.
How deep are those balconies gonna be?
They're gonna match the existing balconies on the existing buildings. I believe they're about 7 to 8 feet roughly.
So,
You can see in the pictures, they do hold tables and chairs, so they're not just kind of a walkout. They are used as living spaces on the existing buildings.
so that front setback is 50 feet, the way you have it proposed, so it would be 42 feet, at the balcony areas
Right.
only.
Right.
But the building itself will still be 50 feet. And it's considered a front setback for what reason, Carrie? Because it's really a side of the building that faces a back of another, office building. So why do they consider that the front?
Excuse me, it's it's an unusual lot configuration, so typically you're looking for the legal front, and it's at that's a private road, and so you're having to try to find the parcel line that's consistent with the main roadway, and so that was how we determined it.
Okay.
Even if, and the same setback would be required, I think, just based on its proximity to other R5 developments, and so 50 would be the magic number, regardless of the designation of front, side, or rear.
Gotcha.
Directly to the east of where this is proposed is some other kind of commercial, like office building, right?
Medical building, yeah.
A medical building?
I do want to stress also that the owner has mentioned numerous times that he does want to upgrade the entire facility. His intention is to get better units, and that this new building would be higher standard than what's there, and he wants to take his profits and continue to make improvements to the entire facility. So
am I understanding this is going to be 12 units in this building?
correct.
One or two bedroom units, so there are gonna be maybe 2 people in each of those 12 units.
Correct.
And where would they park their cars?
We did have the civil engineer, as we're getting into the submittal for the site plan review, do the parking count, and we do meet the parking requirements based on his take, including the new building.
But I'm not seeing the map. Does that include like all throughout the complex?
Throughout the entire complex,
Okay.
yes.
So there's not gonna be parking spaces for the residents of this building in particular?
There's on the south side of where the building's gonna go, that area of parking is rarely used at this point. I would
You mean
assume,
the west side? The west side where the parking lot is for the office.
Oh, you mean the south side,
the south side
South
is,
side,
in front of where the brick wall is now?
right.
across the road.
Oh, okay, that parking lot. Across the street.
Yeah, they're not, the parking on this site plan is not labeled well, so it's kind of difficult to see, but each of those indents are parking
It's
spaces.
parking, okay, all right,
So that's the intention, is to use it right next to the building.
okay. And you weren't asking for a parking variance, so I
Yeah,
assumed you.
we're not, no.
Okay. So mainly, as I see it, there's two purposes to the proposal. The first being to get rid of an unsightly abandoned use, and the second being to increase the density of the property so it can increase the profit.
That's correct.
Okay.
You're not really affecting any neighborhoods, other than possibly the Brookdale Park in reference to, traffic coming in there, but it's minimal, only with 10 additional apartments.
Right, right. Yeah, and I mean, the reason why we zeroed in on that area is because the pool was abandoned, it's filled in, it holds trash. It seems like taking probably the worst area in the entire complex and making it one of the best. So that was, I guess that was the focus of the project, yeah.
It's kind of hidden back there, but it would be nice to clean it up, no doubt. Not that you want a hidden mess.
No. And it's really, so in terms of the increase of any traffic like on Brookdale there, it's only gonna be about a 10% increase like that.
Right.
And actually, they got two directions, you can go out in Teakwood there too. Mm-hmm. The other end, west side.
How many units are there now?
There are 111.
111. All right, your parking data says there's 112, and I need to know.
Well, the one, it's in a state of,
Pardon?
the one that exists over the shop area to the south is not leased right now. They were going to convert it, but as this project came up, now we're going to abandon it, and basically that's the missing unit, I believe, that.
So you're going to have a total of 123,
123, that's correct.
right?
Yes.
That requires 246 parking, and they say there's only 245. I mean, can you squeeze another one in, or do we need a variance for the parking?
There's available room to the east of that,
Okay.
that one run. If we had to make another one, that's not a problem, yeah.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, we'll open it to public input. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of this application? Anyone here who'd like to speak in opposition to this application? Step right up, sir.
My name is Ken Special. I live at 16 Brookdale Park. You want me to?
No, not during public input. That's not necessary.
I'm totally opposed to this project for several reasons. One, if you ever take time and drive over to the complex, you'll notice it's bordering on ghetto, okay? Every gutter on every building in the place is either dented, hanging from ice damage, roof damage, whatnot. Property is never maintained. My backyard backs up directly to the very last building, okay? Summertime, if they cut the lawn once every 3 weeks, it's a lot, okay? How this complex was built originally without a privacy fence or some kind of privacy bushes is beyond me. I knew the original owner, the guy that built them, Dan Kappa. God rest his soul, he was a good man. And when he and his sons had the property, they maintained it. For the last year or so, since it's been under new management, it's gone completely downhill. This pool area that they filled in that they want to put this building on, if you go over and look at it, way too minuscule, way too small. There's no possible way you could put up another 12-unit building there without encroaching on the neighbors. You have across the street from Wambox, you have the medical office buildings, the imaging building, and I think it's a collection center, which is where this building would literally almost touch. There couldn't be 12 feet in between both buildings once this one's done.
Have you seen the site plan?
The site plan itself, no, but I know exactly where the swimming pool used to be.
No, because according to the site plan, there's going to be 50 feet
I can't see it.
between the edge of the proposed building and the property line, which then has a further setback before you get over to the office building to the east. So, if,
I can't see it.
That's
What they've done
15.
most recently, they put up a row of arborvitae trees, okay, to the right of where the swimming pool used to be, where this building wants to be erected,
Yeah, they're on the map.
to hide where what they were using the area for was dumping. Whenever they would have branches fall or dirt or anything they had to get rid of, they were just dumping it in the back there, and that's why they put up the arborvitae's, trying to hide it. But believe me, where that is so close to that collection center building, there's no way it's gonna be 50 feet, no way.
Well, I can't imagine the map's lying as far as the.
All I could say is I
And then-
encourage
and
you
then-
all to take a ride over and look at this, physically stand there and look at where they want to erect this building.
And then from those arborvitae's along the lot line to that newer, back building, that new medical building or whatever it is. Looks like it's almost another 45 feet to that, so there's almost 100 feet between the two of them.
I can't possibly see that, really.
You say you live on Brookdale?
Brookdale Park, like I say, my backyard backs up to the very first building. And why,
First
again,
building on the,
it would be all the way to the west.
all the way to the west, so the other end down by Giles Avenue?
Right, now, I have a question, I'm curious too, at the end of Teakwood Drive, okay, going into this complex, the former owners erected steel gates with huge stop signs on them, and for years now, they've been closed. Now, just a week and a half ago, these gates were suddenly opened, allowing the traffic to come in and out from Teakwood Drive, and I'm curious why.
I don't know, that'd be a question.
At one time, when it was erected, you had both entrances and exits. You had the one on Kerry Lane going to Brookdale Park, and you had the one at the end of the complex going to Teakwood Drive. Well, the Teakwood Drive side, I'm telling you, it's been closed for at least 7 years, gated off. The gates are still there, they're on hinges, but they're open now, and that's only in the last week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Puzzles me.
I wonder why they were closed in the first place.
Well, because of the traffic was outrageous, and people were complaining. So they wanted one exit and one entrance.
Do we have any, Carrie, or? do you
Yeah,
have any-
I know that there was an issue with, for snow removal purposes, they may have been opened at the time because, snow is being piled up against there, and that's actually needs to be a fire lane access point, so in case of emergency, even though the gates are kept closed, that there's, the ability for emergency responders, specifically fire trucks, to get through that area. And they, snow is being piled there, that's been since rectified. My guess is that the gates may have been opened to allow for the movement of and relocation of the snow piles. And
Is it perfectly okay to close those gates again?
it is, I think that, I believe there's a lockbox system that the key is, available for emergency response purposes. But it's an issue that the fire marshal monitors and is aware of, and so if there's any issues or concerns from a safety or security standpoint, he would address those, with the owner of the property.
You would prefer the gates closed, I take it.
Sure, just for the, traffic, the flow of traffic, yeah.
Well, that's something we can bring up with the applicant.
Like I say, the whole property line along Brookdale Park, it's just beyond me why, when the complex originally in the early 70s was erected, they didn't, demand either a privacy fence or some kind of foliage or something.
Is there
9 out of 10 residents on Brookdale have their own fence, just to hide,
You read my mind, that was my next question.
My lot has a chain link fence around it, the house was built in 58, and I'm pretty sure the fence was there in 58, so, okay, but, it's not the same as having privacy in between you and the complex. You know, if, I'll tell you, I probably wouldn't be so opposed to them erecting a new building if they maintained what they have, but it's terrible. Just terrible. I guess each unit has, I don't know, 8 apartments, whatever. They all have garbage totes outside the place. I have physically seen rats there. Okay, I walk through the complex a lot. Very dirty, very unkept, you know, needs tons of work, tons of maintenance.
Is this a new owner, relatively new owner?
Yeah, well, I'm told, the Kappa sold it within the last year. I know Russell Kappa and I graduated school together. He told me they were, Jewish people from Israel, I guess, who actually bought the property. That was my understanding.
So it's a relatively new owner.
Yes. Yeah, because his father, God rest his soul, built it in the early 70s, and then the 2 boys maintained it for the last 15, 20 years. I know people that live in the complex, they say since this new owner's taken over, they don't even maintain the roads like they should in the winter, so. Like I said, if they were a good, clean neighbor that maintained their property, I probably wouldn't be in opposition. But that's not the case.
I remember when I was young, it was built, it was one of the premier
It literally was.
complexes in the.
And it was also my understanding that when they were built, no children were allowed. It was a, you know,
Yeah.
30 up and, but it's not that case anymore. There's tons of kids, you know. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition to the application? Is there anyone who'd like to talk to us about apartments, mowing, maintenance, anything that came up at all? Does the applicant wish to add anything to what you presented earlier?
I'm more than happy to pass on any comments to the owner. You know, my involvement has not been with maintenance or upkeep of the existing units. I don't know anything more than the few times that I've been there to measure, and I have seen their maintenance crews working constantly during that time, so I can't say anything to the fact that if things are not upkept or such. So, but I'm happy to pass any of this information on to him as far as concerns go. I think the plans speak for themselves as far as where the placement is. We did not extend the building towards the east setback. The fact that it is in a L shape was cognizant of where the setbacks were and trying to get the most out of what we could of the deteriorated area of the former pool. And, you know, we got as much as we could, and there's no more we could fit in that area without sacrificing something else. So I think the application, hopefully you'll take under consideration, is owner's desire to upgrade the facilities, as he has reiterated to me more than a few times, and that this would be the first step on, you know, making more upgrades down the road.
What's the occupancy rate?
He's full.
He's
Yeah,
totally full.
I believe so, yeah.
Do you know
close
if
to-
he maintains a waiting list?
I don't know. I think the higher end units, he feels like there's a need for them, and he wants to go after that.
Mr. Chairman, my concern is, it seems like the purpose of this building is simply for profit. And I think that greater profit could be probably drawn by improving the existing building, and using that capital to upgrade the whole facility, and then later come back to build if there is a need, if there's a waiting list. I think that'll probably be a more business-wise and resident neighbor wise way to go than to build something new. It's the owner's money where it goes, but to me it doesn't make sense if I didn't see this point properties after I've met, but if it is that dilapidated, then maybe we should look at tabling it and coming back up, upgrading the full facility, and look at building later on. That's my 2 cents.
I don't know how many of you been out there, but I don't feel like the property is dilapidated at all. It's a huge property, needs constant maintenance, and obviously, you know, that's gonna take a little bit of time, but I don't feel like this is in any way, shape, or form, a slum or, you know, attracting of, bad elements. I feel like it's old, it does need some help, and there's only so much you can do in a certain amount of time, and his intention is to upgrade. So, I'd hate to have associated terms, tagged on to the property, when I, at least from my personal and professional opinion, feel that that is not correct.
Well, the issue in front of us is whether or not, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, whether or not there's a practical hardship that would justify a variance of the statute. So, the limit being 112, you're being at 111. The mere fact that another building could be built within the setbacks and increase the profits isn't a practical hardship. The fact that there's demand for this kind of housing in the town that can be met within the confines of the setbacks and with a slight increase in the thing, that is a practical hardship, potentially.
And cash flow for the business. I mean,
Well, the
it's,
cash flow for the business isn't really the focus of the practical hardship for the area variance. That's more related to a use variance. If he wanted to put a convenience store where the pool is, that would be a cash flow analysis to see whether or not there was a reasonable rate of return on the property that could be made. And that's a whole different standard than the area variance. So, I mean, the fact that it'll increase profits is nice, but that's not the determinative factor. And on the other hand, yes, I was there. I looked around. It doesn't strike me as being a terrible place. I don't understand why, when the original site plan was approved back by the planning board in the 70s when it was built, apparently nothing was brought up about putting up some kind of a divider. Maybe that'll happen now with the new owner, who knows? But that's a function of the planning board. This application has not been to the planning board yet, has it?
it's on the agenda right now.
It'll go into the next planning board. This application, it was determined to come to the zoning board first, since site plan would be contingent upon whether or not the area variance to expand and allow a new building would even be considered. So it would go to the planning board for site plan review subsequent to this review.
Because I was thinking I'd kind of like to know what the planning board's comments were before.
And so, this is one of those, not to use your pun from earlier, this is certainly a chicken and egg situation where both boards need to review. The planning board, because in this instance, it was the siting of a new building on site, not necessarily an expansion of an existing building, it seemed to make sense to come here first, to determine whether or not they met the address the factors involved with that, area variance. But certainly, if this board wants to hear what the planning board thinks from a site plan perspective, that's certainly your prerogative as well, so.
And just my personal, I don't believe that the overall variance is that substantial that I would deny it, because, it's new development in the town, it's new development in that complex that, like the gentleman said, would hopefully enhance and set a trend of doing some remodeling, and once you got one new building up, now you start to, hang new gutters and paint in the other building, and, dressing it all up. That one particular area is run down, and it is where the pool area is. It is at this point overgrown, and kind of the dilapidated part of the complex, so, you know, my opinion is, I think it's, as far as what we're asked to do, I think it's, I would approve it.
I was just wondering about the planning board and their input, but, yeah. I mean, we
You know,
don't
obviously-
have to wait.
Planning board will probably, you know, put their,
They'll say they wanna hear from us.
well, that's why I'm saying we should, if we give them what they need in the variance, then, you know, then all they have to do is, you know, maintain their end and how they want it to look.
If anything were to happen at the site plan level that would change either the footing of the location of the building or anything that might impact, the variances granted by this board, they'd have to come back anyway.
Right. But
Correct.
At this point, you know, the way it's laid out looks okay, and I don't think it's intrusive or, again, I don't think the variance is substantial. And as long as it's built to town code and as long as it's built the way the planning board's gonna like to see it, hopefully it'll clean up so that the neighbor's happy. And bringing that back to the owners and tell them, you know, you have at least one neighbor that would like to see it cleaned up and maybe the gate closed.
All right. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we'll close the hearing with respect to this matter, and we will take a short break and resume at about 8:05.
We hope you enjoyed this presentation.
second for Mr. Stewart for Christ, no, not Christ King. Cattery. Yes. And Mr. and Mrs. Gates are still here. And Ms. Weldon is here. And LaCroix, so they're all here. All right, everyone has stayed. It's unusual. All right, so the first item on the agenda is the application pertaining to St. Cattery Church and the request for a sign, 445 Kings Highway South. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve this request for a variance for that sign on Kings Highway South with the following findings. It won't change the character of the neighborhood since there already is a sign on that property. It's a sign for the school, so there's really no alternative to it. It's not a very large request. The size of the sign is not obtrusive, so it's not that substantial. There certainly wouldn't be any effect on the physical or environmental conditions of the area by putting up the sign. And if it's, I suppose it could be argued that it's self-created, but the school is a school, it needs to be identified, so this is one of the best ways to do it.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'm gonna abstain.
6 votes in favor, no opposed, 1 abstention. Motion carries. No one's absent, we're all present. Next application relates to 279 Cascade Place. This is also a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application?
I'll take a stab at it. 279 Cascade Place, I'll make a motion that we improve the linear foot. This is an awkward lot, the way the house is set up, a large front yard, no backyard. I don't believe that it is an unsightly fence. It is a white picket fence, looks very nice in the front yard. It is not going to really hurt or change the character of the neighborhood. Alternative solutions is not to have a white picket fence or to have a electric fence or something like that, but I think this white picket fence will keep their doggy at bay better and let them run around and have some fun. It is 80 linear foot, but because of the way the front yard is set up, to me, it's not a substantial variance. It doesn't really affect the environmental or physical lay of the land. And again, it is self-created, but it's something that can't be helped because, again, they have really no backyard. So they're utilizing the front yard in a nice way. And again, the picket fence is a very good-looking fence. So based on that criteria, we think we should approve it.
I'll second that.
Second.
Either one of us.
I guess triples.
I heard Mr. Evans first.
Oh.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries, 7 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions. The entire board continues to be present. The next application relates to application for a special use permit at 74 Vinyl Avenue. This is a type 2 action for seeker purposes. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application? Hearing none, I'll make a motion that we grant the special use permit, subject to the following conditions. The special use permit shall have a term of 5 years from tonight's date. I'm looking at the wrong one, that's why I can't find it. provide or have available annually a letter or certificate from a veterinarian indicating that the hens are in good health. The coop will be maintained in its present location, which is more than 8 feet from the property lines and the fence. The special use permit will be limited to the 4 hens that are there now. We'll ask the town to inspect and report within 1 year. None of the hens are to be replaced, and it's subject to maintaining an appropriate barrier to prevent other animals from burrowing into the.
Second.
Any discussion?
The permit for 5 years too?
5 years.
The only question I got is because we had it once before with, rats and one of the other properties is there gonna be a follow-up with the health department just to make sure it's the abandoned property or the apartments or?
Well, we've
I know
asked-
he went there for one thing on 84 vinyl, but came up with this, and I don't know if the two are together or not.
Well, on the report, that was the interesting thing on the report concerning the thing. He said he didn't have any refuse or debris, and he didn't observe any vermin in the property. That's when he noticed the coop in the backyard without a special use permit or a variance, so that's, but we're asking the town to inspect it within a year, as we always do.
And just to add to that, typically, if we were to receive an inquiry or a complaint about vermin, we would advise whoever called in we would actually redirect them to the Monroe County vermin unit to follow up.
Another condition that we've added in the past that wasn't on what I was looking at is that the food will not be stored outside. The food will be stored inside
And I believe the application did say she did store the food
Right,
inside.
but we've put that as a condition in the past as well to try and discourage vermin. All right, so, is there any other comment or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries, 7 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions. The entire board continues to be present. The last item on our agenda pertains to the LaCroix apartment application. This is, let me see.
Area variance.
This is also a type 2 action for seeker purposes,
Oh.
correct?
It's actually an unlisted action.
It's an unlisted
And
action?
you should in your packet have a sample part 2 and part 3 for your review.
Actually, it was just added on your
know
desk tonight. It wasn't in the packet originally.
Oh, it was?
There's an environmental assessment form.
Oh, here it is, yes. I put it underneath. All right, so, the assessment form indicates that there's no or small impact from the project with respect to any conflicts with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations with respect to a change in the use or intensity of the use of the land, character or quality of the existing community, the environmental characteristics, level of traffic or existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkways. Will have no or small impact on the use of energy, public-private water supplies, public-private water treatment facilities, important historic, archaeologic, architectural, or aesthetic resources, adverse changes to the natural resources, potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems, which potentially could have arisen if they'd put it where the slope is, and no hazard to environmental resources or human health. So I would make a motion that, we adopt the short environmental assessment form.
I'll second that.
Excuse me, Chairman, a negative declaration
I
for
was
that?
getting to that, yeah.
I apologize.
That's all right, which would lead to a negative declaration. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7 votes in favor, no opposed, no abstentions. We're all still present. Does anyone wish to make a motion with respect to this application?
I'll make a motion, in reference to, 14 LaCroix Court. Based on the criteria of, and I've got to read the right one here. Possible changes in the characteristics of the neighborhood, I don't believe there are any. Alternatives, is, the alternative is not to put up a building and just to leave it the way it is. I don't believe it's a substantial, increase in the overall, density. I don't think it'll affect the environment or the conditions, and that's set forth in the environmental assessment form. And again, it is a self-created issue in reference to that they do want to put up an additional apartment building for their business. Again, based on it going to the planning board, I have good faith that it'll look nice and that it'll be done properly with the building code. Based on that, we're going from 112 units to 123 units, an 11-unit increase, and I think we should approve that variance. I believe there is a side setback variance, which is set right now for 50 feet minus about an 8-foot overhang for, which is not on our sheet, but we have to add that. Some balconies. So the overall, if you consider the balconies, the overall setback will be 42 feet on that east side of the building, which is considered the front, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but that's what it is. Based on that criteria, I believe we should approve the applicant's wishes.
So the side setback variance is simply to accommodate the balcony overhang.
Yeah, but it's really a
It's
front
legally, I
setback.
believe it's the legal front of the parcel, and it's based on that parcel line's
Front
proximity
front
to the
setback.
roadway that leads to the apartment complex. And as I look at the plans, you can maybe reference the balcony overhang or encroachment as submitted on the plans and reference the plan number. I measure, it's not labeled, but with using a scale, I measure it being the overhang hangs 5 feet into the front setback.
Okay, so less than,
Yeah, so it might be a little bit less, but
Right.
it's maybe as submitted by and I defer to the deputy town attorney for the correct language, but you may be able to reference the plans as submitted.
Has it been seconded?
Nope, I think you just did.
Yes, I did.
Yes, that's what I thought you were doing. Any discussion?
I have one. They're putting in 11 new units or 12 new units?
12 new units in the building. They had approval for, and the maximum allowed was 112, but they only are using 111 because they abandoned one of them.
Do we have to make sure that stays abandoned because it is a
That's going to
unit?
be torn down.
I don't know if it was
Placed.
gonna, is it gonna be torn down?
Yeah, it's where the,
Was it in the front side there where they're?
yeah, where the building will be.
Wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
Then it
no.
doesn't end up as 124.
No,
in the future.
that was a little confusing, but yeah, I figured that out. All right. And the concerns that were raised by the neighbors in opposition to the application, you're going to carry those back to the owner and ask him to be sure to address those, like, as soon as possible. They're not, those aren't factors that technically are legally relevant, right, to the determination as to whether or not they mow the lawn and how often. but they're very important for neighbors and being a good neighbor in the town, so, you might try and carry that message to the owner if you would. Any other comments or questions from the board? Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Mr. Evans? You said nay, okay. Any abstentions? Okay. Motion carries, 6 votes in favor, 1 opposed, no abstentions. The board continues to be present, and that completes the items that are on the agenda for this evening. With respect to when the packets were sent out to everyone, there was a draft of the minutes from our meeting on December 4th of last year. Did everyone have a chance to review those minutes? Any comments on the minutes? I would move to approve the minutes as prepared by Michelle. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I was absent, so.
Mr. LaPerry's abstaining because he was absent, so the motion carries 6 votes in favor. No opposed, 1 abstention. Nobody's absent, we're all still present. That concludes our meeting, and we are adjourned.
Yes.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.